Today's guest is an internationally renowned evidential psychic medium and animal intuitive. She began studying mediumship and mysticism in her late teens and can connect with both humans and animals at their soul level. Please give a huge Koit welcome to Susan Allen. Hi Susan, and welcome to KoitCast.
Hello, how are you?
I am super lush today. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm excited to be here.
Excellent. Well, first off, thank you ever so much for coming. It's much appreciated you coming and doing this interview. I really appreciate that. Let's just jump in. Who are you? Where are you from? All that good stuff.
Okay, I'm Susan Allen. I'm an animal intuitive psychic medium and I do healing. And I currently live in Los Angeles, but I am a New Yorker.
Okay. And what made you move to Los Angeles from New York?
Oh, I was just writing about that because I'm writing my book on animals. And I felt like when I was 15 years old, I came to LA to visit my dad, who was here for a few weeks. He was a New York City school teacher, and they have the whole summer off. And he was staying with a friend in Los Angeles. And we visited Marina Del Rey, the wharf, the fisherman's wharf. And there
Hmm.
was all this amazing wildlife bustling pelicans and all these seals were hanging out in dinghies. And I really lost my mind. And I said to myself, I will live in this town when I have my own money and I'm a grown up. And I knew I would eventually move here, and I did.
Excellent stuff. When do you think people turn into grown-ups? Because I've yet to turn into that and I'm almost 50.
I don't think I'm a grown up, and I just turned 62 last week. Oh,
Oh,
this week.
crikey.
It's actually still my birthday week. And I think that to stay young at heart keeps you young, you know. So that's a good thing.
100%. Now, can I say, there's no way I would ever guessed that you were that age. Seriously,
Thank you.
I'm not just saying that to placate you. You know, I would never have guessed that. So well
Thank
played.
you. Thank you.
Obviously, you're drinking a lot of water.
I do drink a lot of water. I drink mineral water. It's good for your
Yeah,
skin.
very much so. I'm an Aquarius, and well, I don't know why. I'm not massively into astrology, but you know, I appreciate the fact that I'm a water sign.
I am
Okay,
too.
so let's jump into your paranormal journey. It's a question I always like to ask people. What brought you into the paranormal theater, if you will?
Well, I've always been like this, but I just thought I just was this way. So, when things happened, I didn't stop and say, oh, this is odd. It was just when I finally got to California and I was very involved with animals and horses and being at farms, it's just started to kind of hit me. I was having dreams, vivid dreams, of animals, and I just was working on a horse one day, and he started to communicate with me, and I didn't think anything of it because I think I had been doing this my whole life. But there was specificities about it. There was where he was from, who he left behind, the day that he was branded. He was a show horse that had come from, I think, Germany. His name was Leo. And I was just going up to love on Leo because I couldn't ride horses at that point anymore.
Hmm.
I was waiting to have a bone surgery that I really needed, and I couldn't ride. So I would just go to the barn and massage him and love on him. And I would spend 2 hours with him. And he started to communicate with me, and I thought, I'm bonkers. This is not happening. And I'd be crying, and I thought, oh, they're going to have the cameras in this barn. They're never going to let me again. They're going to see this crazy woman talking to the horse and crying hysterically. And one time I brought my journal, and I started to journal everything he said. And when I was leaving the barn and I went to my car in the parking structure by the barn, the woman that had been leasing him for the show ring, because she was
Hmm.
still showing him, um, I said to her, I wrote down some things, maybe they're relevant to you. And there were some personal things about her. And she just looked at me, and she ran to her car, came back, and put a wad of cash in my hand and said, you have a gift. And I went, oh, you don't have to pay me, you know? So she's still my client. She's in her 80s now. She still rides horses.
And she's given you loads of wads of cash in the meantime.
No, no, no. But it was kind of, she's such an angel, really cool lady. And I just said, I wonder if this is happening. And I started to do a bunch of readings under my maiden name because my husband was like, I have to protect you. I don't want people to think you're crazy. And I was a real estate agent in Southern California. And you had to have your wits about you if you're going to sell real estate here.
Mm.
And I wasn't in love with it. My love was always, passion was animals. It was always, but I didn't think, I was so sensitive. I didn't think I could be a vet, and I didn't make the grades to be a vet. So that would not be an option for me. So just being around them, whether it be riding horses, working on horses, having my own pets, was really amazing for me. And I think that was the kind of thing that started to really change my life. And of course, I hadn't had a dog since my mom passed away when I was 26. And then the dog died a year after she died. And I was like, I can't have another dog. It was so painful.
Mm.
So I had cats, but you get attached to cats. I always had a bunch of cats. And then I waited like 19 years, and I saw my friend had this cute dog, and I became obsessed with the breed, and I was researching the breed, I think, for 4 years. Every night my husband would say, what are you looking at? And I'd say French bulldogs. I was just obsessed. It was when they first came out and they were trendy. Um, and I had this amazing Frenchie that I feel like reminded me who I really was in the world, because we would have these events with nature, with each other, that, you know, you couldn't make it up. I couldn't make this stuff up, the things that would happen on walks. And it was very transformative relationship for me with that dog, I have to say. And I thought, I'm just some crazy woman that just loves this dog, but it was so much more than that with
So
this
there was
dog.
there was an inherent link between the two of them. Is that what you're saying? And then there was some sort of like
Yeah.
subtle communication or something like that that drew you closer.
Yes.
Is that what?
Yeah, that's a good way to put it together. Yeah, that's
Oh,
exactly it. It was a
okay.
very deep, deep relationship that I have figured out in thousands of pet readings. And I talk to dead people too. But in the thousands of pet readings that I did, I feel like I learned something new every time I do another reading. And what I have figured out with the relationship that I had with that dog, that many of my clients have with that one single dog. Yeah, we have all these animals and they're all special and they all have these unique personalities. But there's that one pet that will bring you through a time in your life. Either it's a transition, a transformation, a new beginning, a new relationship, a new marriage. I had a client, she was an MD, and she said, I need a reading. And I hadn't read for her before. And she said, I quit my job at the hospital as a doctor. And I said, well, you're not a doctor. You're an artist. You're actually a graphic artist. And I described, her dog jumped on her lap, and then her dog started to help me help her, which I kind of think it was the dog the whole time helping her. And I said, it, the dog is really wanting to communicate. She had signed up for a personal reading rather than an animal reading. And she goes, well, this dog is like my whole world, and I don't know what I'm going to do when this dog passes. She's already 14, and like they communicate almost before somebody finishes the sentence. That's how fast I'm getting the information. So the dog said to me, and I know this because she did a beautiful video for me about her experience with the reading, but I have some memories of this reading, and I don't always remember my readings. But the dog had communicated with me, tell her not to worry, I'm going to stay with her until she's settled. And then I brought in her husband, the way he looked, and the sound of his last name. And she put on the video that the she had become engaged to this wonderful man. They're married now. And while engaged, they had to help the dog cross over to the to the spirit world.
Hmm.
But she was settled and the dog stayed with her. So they come in with these, huge healing messages. They really, really do. And they come in during a very important time in our lives. And those are what I would refer to as a soul dog.
Okay, so
Because
let's explore some of this. I suppose we should first off put some grounding in for people that aren't necessarily au fait with this topic. So shall we say, or can we define what a soul is first and foremost, and then we'll go from there to the best of your knowledge?
a soul, okay.
Yeah.
A soul is really who we are. We're just in this form. That's how we get through the natural world that we live in. But we're really all spirit. So this is just our bag, our body bag. This
Our
is
costume, yeah.
our costume. Yes.
Yeah, it's a strange thing when you really think about it. I was thinking about this last night in bed for some reason. I was thinking about if this is a costume, right, and we're a soul wearing this costume, then actors are a soul in a costume wearing another costume. How far down does it go? Do you know what I mean? Oh, is our
Well,
soul another costume of something higher?
well, that's how your incredible brain works. That's your imaginative, beautiful brain. I don't think I go to that place. I think I stay in the soul body and I transmit to the spirit world back and forth what they're thinking, what they're wanting their people or their loved ones to think. So I don't really think that far into it because I probably would have way too many questions if I did. And I have always said like the spirit world's kind of taught me how to do this work because I didn't go for so much formal training. Like I just told you, I went to Arthur Finley. It was like a thing that I thought I'm going to check out Arthur Finley, and I went for excellence in mediumship. And the UK, by the way, they don't believe in animal communicators. Like I could not get up and demonstrate in a spiritualist church as an animal communicator.
Oh, that
They don't
surprises
believe
me.
it. I know. Well, you don't. You have a really good open mind, but you couldn't get up and do communication. And sometimes that is the best and closest relationship that a human being will actually have in this lifetime is a relationship with a pet. I don't I have had many wonderful relationships in my life, but the one relationship that I had that was so transformative was my relationship with my French bulldog Rosie and this horse named Leo. They were the two, and also a cat named Devo. I can't leave Devo out, but you're
And a
cracking
mouse
up.
and a snake. Yeah, no. No, let's not go
You're
there.
so funny. No, no mice and snakes, but rats are great. I heard rats are amazing.
Okay, so what makes these relationships with these animals, and I'm with you, by the way, and I hope my girlfriend Tiff won't misunderstand when I say this. I'm on your train of thought that when an animal
Okay.
passes is worse than when a human passes, right? Seriously. Is it because we pour everything into that animal and no
Well,
pain comes back, so to speak?
well, it's not just that, it's that you're having a soul relationship with that pet because you're transferring energy back and forth to the soul of the pet while it's in your home. Animals are healers, so they're always looking out for you. Hence, the dog that attacked the robber and saved the child or dragged out the kitten from a burning house. There's all these amazing things that animals do. So just because your particular pet may have not saved your life doesn't mean it hasn't helped and protected your energy field. Because when you're having all that love back and forth with that pet, your vibration is so high. So you're transforming your own vibration. So my call to this is don't put your animals in a shelter if you could help it, because their ability to help and heal you is now limited. And you've put them in another place where they can't really help you. But a lot of people feel desperate and they can't find a house or they can't find an apartment because they don't allow pets. I have found loopholes and I've helped a lot of people find these loopholes. So call me if you need advice. But it's when you end that relationship prematurely that you don't get what that animal really had to give you, and it's an ending. Now, if an animal runs away and you never find it again, it potentially went to another home that it was supposed to be at, you know?
Do
These
you
are,
think do you think animals' lives then are just for us?
do I think that's a very good question, and it's so hard to answer. I I think an animal incarnates with the soul family.
Okay.
I believe that when you cross to the spirit world, I believe all your close loved ones actually wait to come back in again if you're all supposed to reincarnate again. And the animal can come in as a person at that point. Now, you're asking me how I would know that or learn that. I learned it through a reading and a client. And I said, your dog said he was your dad in your past life. And I was like, what am I
Whoa.
saying? I was like,
Hmm.
what am I saying? But I don't edit. I just pop out the things that I'm told. And sometimes I hear it like as if I'm talking to you. Sometimes they play a movie in my head. Um, and sometimes they appear, but it's a different kind of appearance. I see dead animals easier than I see dead people because dead people know that it would scare the hell out of me. So it's like a movie. So I can bring through your loved one and I could give you the vibe and I could even talk like them. But they're not going to be walking in my house because they know don't mess with me like that. I don't want to be frightened. I don't need dead people walking in my house. So it's kind of, and it's also easier for them to transfer that energy as a movie than to like appear in your home because it's a lot of energy for them, you
To
know?
appear, yeah.
Yes. But I walked down the stairs the other morning in my house and my cat in the spirit world was sitting on my couch. And that was as clear as day.
How did
And
that
they know,
happen? Did you just walk around the corner? It was there.
yeah, and it happens always in the morning. It's very, very odd. I think when I'm like in between worlds, I
Yeah.
always see my own pets. It happened when I was staying at a friend's house before I bought my house. I was in escrow and I was going back and forth. And I got up for coffee and I'm like, still like, finding my way through his kitchen. And I come out and there's this big, giant Russian blue cat sitting on my clothes on his ottoman. And I knew it was a spirit animal. And I called him and I said, do you know the history of this house? Were there cats there? Do you know if because I didn't even know he liked cats, you see.
Hmm.
And he goes, that was my cat.
So right, so you come around the corner, you see a cat or whatever, or however you see it first off. When does that experience end? Does it fade out? Does it you
Yeah,
look away and then you look back and it's gone? How does it normally end?
it just fades. It just appears and then it fades. It's just a sign of love, like great love, because
Hmm.
I saved a lot of cats when I lived in Brooklyn. Before I left Brooklyn, I housed cats. I was like,
Were you
not
the
an
crazy
official.
cat lady? Is that what you are?
No, no, I got my dad to build. He was really amazing. I said, could you build me a house for cats for the winter and for the backyard? I was renting an apartment, but it had a little backyard. And he shows up with this massive house with insulation and to keep it warm, he was creative. He put a drop lamp in it, the heat from the
Yeah, yeah.
drop lamp. And it was so cool because at night when the snow would be coming down, I'd look in the backyard and there'd be like 10 cats laying on top of each other that would ordinarily probably fight and hiss and
Hmm.
attack each other, but they were all keeping warm. So before I moved to California, I said, I got to trap them all. Otherwise, I'll never sleep at night. I got to trap them all. So they never came in my home. There was like an old lady that lived in the apartment building behind me, and she'd throw meatballs out the window for them. Like every,
Not at you. Just
no, no, I didn't feed them. I would just house them.
Hmm.
They were getting their food from all these women. And I left water and I housed them, and I had to set all these traps and I had no clue and how to do this. I was really a city girl. I was going back and forth to New York to work. And I met somebody who helped me get these PETA gift certificates so I could spay and neuter 17 cats. And I remember I called her house and her husband answered, and he was Kevin Nealon from Saturday Night Live back in the day. You know, Saturday Night Live?
I know the
And I
program. I don't
said,
know the name of the chap. Yeah.
yeah, he's a really funny guy. And he was so down to earth. And I said, I have no clue how to set these traps. And he said, where do you live? And I told him, and he goes, I'll get on the N train. It was Saturday. I'll get on the N train and I could be back at 30 Rock for the show, no problem. And I went, oh no, you're not going to come here the day of your show. It was like one of those amazing stories, but they were huge animal advocates. And they his wife and he helped me with these PETA gift certificates, because I was like broke. So they were helping me trap all these cats. And I found another angel lady that took them all with the gifts. I would trap them and drive them to her house, and then she would bring them to a farm in Connecticut so they could live out the rest of their lives peacefully.
Excellent. No, I love animals, so I like to hear stories of that where people also look after them. Let's go into the communication side of things and just try to uh, understand, how do you personally tune in to an animal's spirit channel, if we want to call it that?
I still am old school and I take a photo. I still request a photo and I look in the eyes of the pet and I just start connecting. I meditate, I connect, and I just ask for whatever they want to say. And, and then I'll start to journal, or I'll just talk out loud. I did a reading for a very famous medium on her podcast yesterday, and I did it old school where I took the photo of the pet and I journaled all of it. And she texted me last night of all my accuracies because it was really her daughter's cat, but she babysat it. So it was just brilliant. And it's funny, like, it's the one thing like I'm sure of is this work, they
Hmm.
don't lie, and I'm sure of it. It's like a surety. And that's how I know I'm doing it correctly because I know. I know,
Well,
and I
if you've had the
trust them.
feedback, yeah, if you've had the feedback from people, you can, yeah,
Yeah.
you know you're doing right. How, to the best of your knowledge, then, does it work? I mean, how do the messages come through to you? I know earlier you mentioned you had films, you can see things, or you'll hear words. Is it feelings as well, or is it all of the above?
Well, mostly with dead people, it's a little different with dead people. And I've had other mediums say, you're talking to the dead people and they're bringing the animals in. And I'm like, no, because I started as an animal communicator. So I'm actually communicating with the soul of the pet. I'm talking directly to the cat or pet. And like the reading will be just like I'm talking to a person, but more animal-esque, in the sense that I'll just say, um, yeah, I really don't like to be left alone. Things get really hairy when I'm left alone. Like I start ripping things and chewing the plants, and then I'll get a validation.
You are talking
So,
about an animal here, aren't you? This is not you.
yeah,
Yeah, so
yes,
they'll.
that's the difference. Like a person would come in and say, I really like her hair color. She changed it since I died. Like an animal has said that. I really like my
Oh,
mom's hair today.
so how? So let's take a case study, right? Think to any one of your cases. You don't need to give me like times, dates, names, or any of that sort of stuff. But let's just say a cat or dog. You've gone in, you're seeing a dog. How does it work? So talk us through the process of seeing an animal for the first time and how it communicates and stuff.
I just well, I don't have to be in the presence of an animal because we all have souls. So the soul work is what I call my work. It's called soul speak.
Hmm.
And I could, like, my neighbor had a sick horse, and I walked in my backyard where I could see the horse, and I sat with the horse, 20 feet away, and he was staring at me, and he was telling me where he was hurting. And I just put energy on that area because he was a really old guy. And we sat and communicated. And usually, like with the healing work, it's all about the love. It's about the love. When you talk to a pet, it's all like that love energy. It comes from here, it's not in here. If it's coming from here, you're in your head. If it's coming from here, it's in your soul. I feel like this is where our soul sits in the center of our chest. So, if it's communication with a pet, it's a lot of love, a lot of love. And even for a fish or a frog, it's the same thing. It's just love. And that's what makes the connection strong, and I have deep love for all
Mm.
creatures. So,
So okay, so you see this horse, and
mhm.
it's communicating. It's got pains in various areas and stuff. How are you seeing that? How are you understanding it? Is it images in your mind? Are you hearing words?
I'm going to go back to talking to him. Um, it's really a feeling. And then, um, I could just feel where he's hurting. And then I could almost see where he's hurting. And I just put energy in that area.
How do you? Sorry to harp on up these points because I just can't get it in my head. Are you feeling it in your body? So say you had your pain in the left arm, you would know that is his left forefoot or whatever, foreleg. Is that how it works, or are you just feeling it like you're sensing inside it?
That's a really good question because dead people will grab my breath or give me a chest pain to let me know how they passed. Or if it's a suicide, I'll just see it or hear it. But with animals, they don't give me the feelings. And I think that's why it's easier to talk to animals than dead people. Um, they just I could just visually see it. It's like an energy.
So are you
And
seeing like them there in like an X-ray sort of way, and then you see and see? No,
it's
I can't
feeling.
visualize it.
I know, I know. I wish I could explain it better, especially for your listeners. It's like a feeling, like I know that area is hurt. Okay, so I'll give you for instance, I told you I was in the UK and we went to Isle of Skye, which now is one of my favorite places in the world. Very, very special place. And
I've not been there, but I've heard it's lush and I've seen it. It does look nice.
oh, it's so amazing. And the energy there, if you're energy sensitive, is one of the best fields of energy I've ever been to. And this coo, they call it coos, they're cows. He was mooing.
Oh,
Coo.
Scottish.
Is that
Yeah,
okay? So is I said it right, right? Coo?
I've never heard that before, but I know what a cow is, so let's just go with
Well,
that.
I think they call it coo. I think it's their accent. You're right. Okay.
Maybe.
So this cow comes, he's mooing, moo, moo, and he's walking towards me, right?
Hmm.
And these cows are adorable there. They're red, they have long hair, they have horns, they're small. They're not like cows in the US. They're just simply adorable. They look like, and they're friendly. Okay. So he starts licking his shoulder a lot. And he's like a few inches away from me. And because I wasn't in that headspace of trying to communicate with him, I was like, oh my God, I want a picture. And I gave his shoulder energy. And when I was done doing this, he starts licking my hands with this massive cow tongue. And I was like, oh my God, I can't believe this. So in some instances, they actually will kind of communicate either with their behavior because I wasn't in that space like, oh, I'm going to be a healer now, or I'm going to talk to the cow. I really wanted picture. I wasn't really there, I was jet lagged too. So, so I guess it just, I guess, I guess it just, each situation is different.
Okay, so scenarios where cats, dogs, or whatever, rabbits or whatever, send movies to your head.
Mhm.
How does that play out? Is it just frames, like boom, 10 seconds of this image, 5 seconds of this image, or is it a moving picture in your brain?
Um, it's like I said, it's more a movie with a dead person. With an
Oh,
animal,
okay,
it's not
sorry.
always a movie. That's okay. I actually can, I actually feel like I'm communicating in real time, if that makes sense. Like I'm having a conversation with them.
And when you have conversations with them, is it in imagery or is it in words in your head?
It's both.
Whoa.
It's both. Yeah.
Okay. That's cool. I don't understand how it works. And so now I have a
You're
grounding of
gonna
how it
have to,
works.
we're
We
gonna
can
have
go
to
from
do
there.
a read. I think you need a reading at some point. We're gonna have to put you in my schedule.
Oh, on me or on my dog?
On with your dog. Yeah, we're
Oh, I
gonna
see.
do a reading for your dog for sure. I
I'd
think
love to know
you
what he
really,
says. He's strange. He's a
he's
strange
strange.
dog. Yeah. Very strange. The strangest dog we've ever had. But hey ho, that's a whole different.
Well, don't tell me anything because
I
I
won't. I
wanna,
won't.
okay.
I'll leave
I don't
that.
want to know.
I
Yeah,
don't even have a
don't tell
dog. Yeah. Um, I've written
me.
this question down on the basis that
Okay.
you might have had a movie with an animal, which is I had this question then, are you interpreting? But if it is words, you're not really being a translator, are you? You're just picking up exactly the message and passing it on.
Yeah.
So there's no
And I write.
translation per se.
Yeah, I wrote down all my I journaled probably hundreds and hundreds of readings because I didn't trust myself. I would meditate for it wasn't like the best way to
When you
do
say you
it.
didn't trust yourself, sorry to interrupt. Is that because you're in fear that your imagination is adding to it? Is that what it is?
Exactly. I
Yeah,
was
okay.
in fear that I wouldn't be able to help something that I love so much, or, I wanted to get it right. Like I wanted, and I was insecure. I mean, that's a really good sign. I had these feelings that, well, I'm crazy. Like, is this really happening? So I would journal all these readings. I have composition notebooks full. So I'd meditate for 30 minutes and then look at the picture and then journal and journal and journal. And then I'd be on the phone for an hour. So it was like a 2 hour ordeal, but I so loved it. And this is when I first started and I was in the closet. I was under a different name. I didn't want people to connect the dots. I was worried about the internet because I wasn't really ready to come out as a medium. And I really, I really honed it, if so to speak. And then one day, my good cursive Catholic school writing turned to scribble, and I could not understand what I was reading. And it was at that point I felt I better just get my information straight, excuse the pun, the horse's mouth, instead of just
Mm.
journaling and filling up these notebooks. And it was like a matter of trust, with me and the spirit world and me and souls. And that's kind of how I just let the ball roll.
So, what point then did you decide to close the journal and then just take it from what is given is real versus because that seems to be like your journal was your way of working out is it real? I'll
Right.
write it all down on the off chance, and you obviously
That's
closed
right.
that chapter somewhere along the line.
Yeah. I say it was about 10 years ago when my writing, I couldn't hold the pen. It was really strange. Like it wasn't, I loved penmanship. I used to draw, I used to love art. So it was just really easy for me to journal. I was the girl that had two notebooks, one for my notes at school, and then I'd come home and I'd rewrite a whole notebook. That was my way of study.
Hmm.
So for the pen, I wasn't holding the pen right. It was falling out of my hand. It was all this weird stuff. And then I realized it's signaling me to just kind of trust. And then I would sit in meditation and I would do readings, one after the other. And it was just as important as when I journaled. It was just as meaningful. So it was a trust thing.
Yeah. So that was that bad penmanship, we'll call it that at the end, was a symptom of not a physical issue with you. It was more of a mental thing or the spiritual side of things.
I think it was the spiritual side of things. They
So
were like, stop writing,
yeah.
trust
So but
us.
what I was getting to was like say you do a five readings or whatever, then you start writing again. You can write, so you haven't lost the ability to write. It was just that point.
Yes, yes,
Mm,
exactly. I didn't lose the
interesting.
ability to write.
Yeah,
It's
no,
just at
no.
that point, it was that point that it was like, oh, what's going on here? And you kind of as a medium, you're trusting the spirit world. So you're kind of, it gets to be a little lonely because you're working with spirit. And I wasn't like, I didn't have somebody to call and say, oh, my penmanship is funky and I'm not going to be able to journal my readings anymore.
Well, did you not
It's
ask?
just,
Did you not ask the spirit world what the hell's
well,
going
kind of,
on?
I did. No, I did. I said, I don't know. And then I just got, it was like, it's just a very, it's a knowing. Like I'm not hearing voices, thank you, God. It's like a knowing that I'm supposed to drop the pen and trust that I'm going
Yeah,
to get the information that I need when I need it. You know what I mean?
I 100% know what you mean. That word knowing is very important to me because when you know things, you know it. You can't understand how you know it or why, but you just know things.
Yeah.
It's a common theme on some of my conversations I have with people, and I like to pull on that thread as to when people know things because it's obviously really important at that point. And yours was obviously with the pen issue. Right, here's a question for you. Do certain animals communicate in a different way to others? So let's just say rabbits versus dogs. Do rabbits, I don't know, do they speak in a certain way, a phrase of language versus dogs would?
No, no, I would say exactly the same.
Interesting.
Yeah, they're not different. It's just a soul. It's not even a fish. I mean, I talked to a fish once. It's
That's great. Go on.
I don't know what I went into my chiropractor's office. And I don't know what these people were thinking. They had a big bowl and a frog underneath and a fish on top. And I could just feel like there was this cantankerous energy in the tank. And I'm like, you got to separate these two. My chiropractor's like, please talk to the fish. And I'm like, it's not the fish, it's the frog. So
Kermit, was it? He was playing silly.
he was aggressive.
Oh, well, that's it, because frogs do eat fish, so,
I know. I don't know what they were thinking. Like I said, I
very,
think
very
they
strange.
thought they were not thinking.
Mm. Are animal souls a different soul category to humans? I.e., are they like a slither of a soul that would go into a human, or is it the same quantity of soul goes into us goes into them?
Well, for me as a communicator, when they've been an animal and I'm communicating with them as an animal or as a soul in the spirit world of an animal that has transitioned to the spirit world, I can tell you it feels very light to me as opposed to talking to a dead person. And I could almost tell you why, because the energy around the parent is light with the animal, and the energy around the animal is light with the parent. Whereas when somebody transitions to the spirit world and I'm talking, I'm the intermediary, like we're like just the messengers, hence the
Hmm.
medium, because we go here, the spirit has to come down to meet us, and we have to raise our vibration to meet them. But when I'm talking to, a dead person, sometimes they're not communicating as well, or the person I'm talking to has got their own, you know, stuff in the way. It's rare, but sometimes, like I did an event Sunday, I had 20 people on, and some of the souls were like talkative and um were very transparent in the spirit world. I call them good communicators when the soul of the person is a good communicator. But I didn't do a lot of animal readings because most of the people that come to those events are really wanting to connect with a deceased loved one.
Okie dokie. Is there a common theme that comes from all of your animal psychic readings?
Just the love part, there's just so much love for the person, whether they're still here or in the spirit world, or it's just really love. Love is the big connector. That's if any medium, I feel that's our greatest connector is loving the work, loving the pet, loving your client. It's all love. That's really how we have these extraordinary connections, because
Mm.
our vibration is high when we have a lot of love, you know?
Do you think it's hard for most people to get to that state?
Um, well, I think that this isn't an easy place to live with the world.
Mm.
It's just not, the energy is very intense. And, you know, everyone comes in with, a karmic record of how kind of their life's going to go because we ask for certain things or we want to reincarnate. Um, let's say we never were married in this life, right? And we want to reincarnate because we want to experience marriage or having a child or having a dog or having a cat. So we're choosing to actually come back. And it's really a choice because this is not an easy planet as we think it is. This is probably one of the hardest incarnations you could ask for, is to be here right now on the planet.
A lot of people say that to me, and that tells you a couple of things. And we take ego completely out of this, but what that's saying is we're playing on the hard level of the computer games or the expert level.
Yeah, we are.
And when you think of it like that, it's just weird. Your brain just goes. Mine does anyway. Um,
It's weirder that we chose it. Isn't it weirder
yeah,
that we chose it?
it's weird to also think because right, let's be fair. I'm me, you're you, right now, right? I know that I believe in the soul higher up and all that stuff, but let's just take it on the face of it that we're just humans right now, being this existence. We die at the end of it, right? It's weird to think of all these other possibilities. Everything blows me away at the moment. I just can't I can't wrap my head around it, but I don't know.
Everything? I think you're wrapping your head around it pretty good. I mean,
Yeah, but I'm speaking as someone who actually understands a lot because I've spoken to a lot of people and I'm open to a lot of things. But
yeah,
if we take that connection away and just think, no, we are just this person in this shell. I'm not even that, am I? I'm not a soul. I'm just a person with a consciousness that grew from me naturally. I live, I die. To then think of all these other things is mind blowing. Anyway, that's a side jaunt. I don't want to take us down because I want to make sure our time goes into the animal stuff.
okay.
What level of animal does this go down to? I mean, are we talking small animals, insects? Where's the start point for souls for animals?
I don't talk to insects just because I've not experienced that. I mean, occasionally I'll say to a spider, please go outside now. I
Does it
don't want you in
respond
my
though?
house. I would think it does. I mean, I don't really remember. I don't have a lot of spiders in my house
That's
right
good.
now. Yeah.
It's a good thing.
Yeah. My husband will grab the glass and a piece of paper and get the spider out. He's the bug guy. I am not the bug person, but I've spoken to frogs, hamsters, wildlife for people, for farmers, gophers, deer. Um, I just had an encounter with a deer down the street. I was looking at her and she wasn't wanting to cross where all these wild turkeys were eating, but I could feel her energy like she wanted to go there. And I said, "Why are you so afraid?" And she said, "They're very mean." And I and I found out that these wild turkeys are apparently really
They
vicious.
are vicious turkeys, yeah.
They're vicious. And that's why the deer was so hesitant. I always find that out after I have the conversation with the animal.
But that's good though, isn't it? Because that corroborates it
Yes.
for you.
Oh, it totally it's very fulfilling what I do, and I can't imagine doing anything else. Took a lifetime to get here, and I love doing it. So,
And I like to hear that because that's another favorite topic of mine, which is, are people on the right path and are we destined to walk a certain path? And you obviously hit the right path for you, haven't you?
yeah, and it took a long time. I mean, I didn't have like the easiest life. I didn't have, I've had many careers, many jobs that I hated. I didn't know who I was or why I was in a job in an office in New York City. I was so sensitive. Being on a bus and being with 50 other people getting into Manhattan was like a horrific thing for me in the morning. Didn't want to be enclosed with that many people because I didn't understand my own abilities. This wasn't looked at as it wasn't that prevalent. I mean, even growing up, I was into psychics. I loved mystics. I loved the mystical arts. I studied at a very young age, but I never ever thought I would be one of these people, and then it just kind of happened. And I just kept trusting. It took a long time to trust, but when I started to really trust myself, I was completely free to do this work, but
Mm.
I always say to people, you don't just get into this field because, oh, it's a spiritual business and it's hip right now. And I had somebody tell me that well, there's money in the business. And I'm like, it's a kind of a calling, it's not, I wasn't looking for it. It found me. I really wasn't looking to be a healer and a medium and a communicator. But because of the years that I've honed this now, um, I feel like why would I even want to do anything else? Like I couldn't, you know?
Well, there you go. You find the right thing. Now, I have a question on those. What you might class them as wasted years. Are they wasted years in
No,
other jobs?
no,
That's
no,
it.
no, no, because if you're gonna find your life purpose, all of these experiences, many of them of which I'm gonna try to put in this book, but I think that would be a second book. I think all of these experiences will be useful. They're
Yes.
all important. I'm from, working class family, and it was work, 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 get a job, get a job. So I had a million different jobs. If I was out of a job, I would just take any job to create energy and money coming in. I just took what I needed, and I found different careers that I liked more, but this is the one I think that's had the most impact and the most longevity because I feel like I'm in my authenticity, as they say in the world, when you're
Mm.
doing what you're supposed to do. And I wasn't looking for it, and it just fell in and it just happened naturally. And yeah, I took a few classes, and then I would be stunned at my work in classes. I would be like, wow, or my journaling of readings. I would read it and go, what? Where am I getting this from?
Mm.
And
Those are the
so,
questions. Where are you getting it from? It's so strange.
I mean, my husband that didn't believe it for the longest time, he's a computer guy. Sometimes he goes on my Zooms and he goes, where are you getting? And he goes, where is she getting this? Like this thing that you'll tell somebody. And then the person is like, yes, yes. And he goes, where are you getting? And I go, I just trust it. I just
Does
trust
that
the
mean
information.
is he on site now with you? Does he believe now fully?
Yeah, he does. But when I was first doing it, he says it's not true. I always believed in you. He didn't. I mean, I came to him and I said, I took this little class and I told the teacher about her pets and she said I was absolutely accurate. And he goes, please don't tell anybody. Please don't tell me. And I remember going to a physician and he was kind of a friend. And I said, he goes, what's up? And I knew he loved animals and he had these beautiful King Charles Cavaliers and he had three of them because I was in disbelief that this was happening. And I said, I'm talking to animals. And he literally looked at me and he goes, as long as they don't talk back, we're okay. And I realized, I
But they
realized this
do.
is I was terrified to say. I mean, I really was struck because I'm sensitive and I was like, oh God, this is so not mainstream. Like people are not going to. And now we live in a community and a society that I think like in the next 2 to 3 years, talking to your medium, talking to your animal communicator, healer, and psychic is going to be as mainstream as going to your chiropractor or your therapist.
It's definitely heading
Very
that
main.
way.
Oh, without a doubt. And
Mm.
I'm grateful
Well,
because
that's
it
the
would have
thing.
been.
Sorry to interrupt.
Oh,
That is what I was trying to get at earlier when I was said if somebody wasn't open to things, yeah,
mhm.
you can. That's like you're being your husband from a while back. You're in that logical human egocentric world where you're just thinking what around you is true, everything else is not. It's when you start seeing and getting into that wider world, you start then questioning the mainstream belief that Earth is just people and that's it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. It's great. Like you're on that journey
Mm.
because it's where you're supposed to be on that journey. It's beautiful. you know,
So where is your
it's
husband on that
important.
journey? Is he like 90%, 80%? Well, what is he now?
I would say he's 90%, 95%. He still tries to tell me what to do, but but I don't listen. So
So you're winning then, aren't you, in that one?
I don't listen. I trust myself. I trust spirit. It's a really beautiful feeling to be able to say I trust the course of my life, because what I created is something that's from spirit and from my work, and it feels beautiful. It feels like a masterpiece to me, and I'm grateful for that.
Hell yeah. Well, that just again shows you're in the right place. Do you have any stories of animals sending messages that actually save owners, such as cancer warnings or dangers like a murder or anything? Have you come across any of that?
There was a really good reading I had, and it bounced into another reading. When I first started, believe it or not, I mean, I'm sure there's been other readings that have brought through information, but this one reading I read for a bookkeeper, and I didn't know she was a bookkeeper, and the dog said, I'm really worried about my mother. She's not breathing well at night, and she's not getting me out, and I'm literally going to the bathroom on concrete. She's not walking me. He was really a nervous wreck. And I said to the woman, your dog is telling me that you're not walking him and you're not breathing well. And she said, I took 20 hours a week extra at work and I've gained weight and I come home exhausted and I just let him go in the little courtyard on the concrete. So she validated.
Mm.
And then she took a video right after the reading out on a walk with him at night. And so she geared up for that walking. And then she had a husband who was a horse trainer, and he had a horse that wasn't winning. And I was interested, to go see, because I was still finding my way. I wasn't charging at that point. I was charging very little and getting testimonials and building my business with the validations and testimonials. That's how I built it.
Hmm.
And I went to a famous racetrack in California called Santa Anita Raceway, which I have a difficult time thinking about it now. Um, and I went to the paddock area, I think that's what you call it, where this her husband's horse was, and he was the trainer of many horses, and I didn't know that. And he said, "This is the one." And I said, I just had a conversation with her, and she was like, "Oh, I'm just one of many for him, but I really love him. He's very good to me, but I'm just one of many." And I said, "Well, I'm new at animal communication."
Mm.
And I said, "They're not going to believe me. I want them to know that this is a real thing. Like you are sensing things that you don't like, and that I want you to really try to win this race." And I went and I placed a bet on her, and she placed. It's like win, place, show. She
Hmm.
placed.
Good stuff.
And yeah, it was cute. And but I never wanted to do it again. I didn't want to be around. She was one that was not drugged. He was a very good guy. He wasn't, but these horses are, I don't know what they're giving these horses, but I can't, it's hard for me to be there.
Yeah, you don't want to be around weird issues with animals. I know, I get it. Um,
Yeah.
I think the last question in this section, which is, what does most of your animal soul speak work pertain to? Is it finding animals, or working out therapy with living animals, or communicating with animals who've passed on? What do you most prevalent do?
I don't do a lot of finding missing pets. I don't love doing it. But I do communicate with deceased animals and living animals. And I feel like it's more deceased or end of life, or what does my pet want, or does she want to does she want to be, euthanized? Is she okay? That kind of thing.
Hmm. What do they normally say about that, the euthanize thing?
I think they want what we want most of the
Oh.
time. They're okay with whatever you decide, but a lot of people suffer. So, you know, the suffering from us humans when we put our animals to sleep, because we always think, oh, there could be another chance. There could be one of the readings I had while I was still a real estate agent. I emailed escrow, which is like the legal position before you close on a house and you own the house. And I said, did we close yet? And the escrow officer said, you must be psychic. We just closed. And I said, actually, I'm an animal communicator. And she booked a session with me, and her bulldog came through. And he was saying he couldn't breathe, and he's so grateful to be out of the body. But then there was so many evidential things of him getting stakes that she didn't know about, and him loving his skateboard, and she had built a ramp in her backyard, and it was all this real evidential stuff that was beautiful. But the reason why she really needed a reading, and neither of us knew what was going to come through, was she felt so guilty putting this dog to sleep because he had lung cancer, and he was saying, I hated not being able to breathe. And the guilt, she was like, I just thought I did it too soon. And it wasn't. She took him out of his pain body and his suffering.
So that was a win for her to let go of that guilt. Yeah,
Yes. And
massive.
that's what I find. Like, when people come to me, there's so much, guilt. I don't really like to know much because I'm sensitive, but some people will come with such horrific stories, and sometimes they just need to tell me, and I don't really want to know, but I feel like it's a healing for them.
Mm.
Thank God it's less of that. More people want me to tell them what I'm getting, which I prefer, than people telling me, but sometimes people have gone through, hard. I won't go into details, but I had a woman that had her Prius running for her dog with the air conditioner in Arizona. And she went into a store for 5 minutes, and she came out and her car was stolen with the dog in it. Yes, I know. Blink your eye.
Mm.
It's like, and I had to hear all this because she had to get it off her chest. So it's like I have a lot of, I get, you know, I can only do a few of these a day. I'm not able to do because, my body and my sensitivity, you can only like handle so much grief.
Mm.
But I love it. And I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world, doing the work that I do.
Great stuff. I have one question for you. Sorry, has any pet ever mentioned alien contact?
No, no.
You're supposed to say
I
yes to that
feel,
one.
oh, well, I feel I've connected to light beings that I think are aliens when I've done meditation. And I've actually seen ships in the sky in my backyard. I have a horse property, and it's very black at night. And I'll just look up, and it's like the same. And I love Stephen Greer's work, so I'm like all over that.
Have you got a
But
laser pointer? Try and bring him in.
no, I don't have that. I just have the download of the sounds, which I'm not in love with. You could download his app. I don't love it. It's like clicking. I'd rather have whale sounds. I like the whale sounds better. I think that's just as amazing. But I think I've watched every Stephen Greer movie, and in a meditation, I could see them. I could feel them and see them. I feel like they're healers. I feel like they're more angel than alien.
Mm.
I do.
No, that's fair. It's a fine line to walk between nefarious contact and what we would assume that it completely benevolent. I don't know where I stand on it because I've heard both sides regarding the alien stuff, but who knows? Who knows? You've also just answered one of my questions there, which is what strange things have happened to you. You've obviously seen alien craft above your ranch or property, so I won't dwell too much on that though, because we are now entering the Koit zone. Koit zone. In the Koit zone, I'm just going to ask you random questions about you, the personality of you. So let's start with favorite film.
Mm. Oh, there's so many. Men in Black.
Oh, I. This is the Will Smith one, yeah?
Yeah.
Excellent.
I have a pug. I rescued a pug, and I'm in love with her. And everybody comes up to us and goes, I know you have to go speed questions, so I'll let you go.
No, that's okay. What animal do you most resonate with?
Horses.
My girlfriend will like
Yeah.
that answer. She's well into horses. What are you cooking for dinner tonight?
I'm going out to dinner with a neighbor.
So that'll be nothing then tonight. Right, favorite place you've ever been and why?
Well, my most recent place was Isle of Skye, and I loved it. And it's an amazing, peaceful place. And I met somebody there, and I had the whole conversation with her dog accidentally. And she came up to me and she goes, "You are spiritual." And she barely spoke English. And I go, "Yeah." And she goes, "I want you to see my ring." She gave me this gorgeous sterling
Hi.
silver ring. And she said, "Never take it off." And I have really big fingers, and the fact that it actually fits. So we're still in contact. She's a chef on the Isle of Skye. So her dog just wouldn't leave me. He just kept, and he wasn't listening to her. And apparently he listens to her. So she and I have a bond now.
Does this mean then, right, that because you're an animal communicator, the animals know that you can hear them or communicate with them, just like a
I
ghost
think
would then
so.
know about a medium?
Yeah, animals are very strange when I'm doing a reading for a person. Their animal will do strange things, and or animals on a walk will do strange things, they feel the energy, yeah.
Quality. A strange question now. If you could swap into any person's body from history for one day, just to experience their life, who would it be?
Sophia Loren.
Oh, I. High class movie star. The good life, is that what it is?
Maybe.
Is that vodka in there or is that water? Gin.
It's water. Although a lot
On,
of mediums have a lot of martinis, I don't tolerate them that
I know.
well.
Me and Tiff had this conversation yesterday. The taste of alcohol is just gross. I don't know if you feel the same way. It's just a strange
Yeah,
flavor.
it's gotten to the point where I don't even like to drink wine, yeah.
Oh, good on you. On a similar vein, what is your favorite flavor?
Vanilla.
Is a nice one. Is there something that you wish you were good at, but you're just not?
Computers, technology.
Fair enough. That's a common theme again. What's the highest point on the planet that you've been?
Um, hmm, that's a good one. I don't know. Oh, Sedona. I couldn't breathe in Sedona. I was having
Oh,
all
whoa,
that
you must
weird
have been high.
stuff. Yeah, Flagstaff, Sedona. I didn't realize I was having like mountain air. I thought it was the energy there. It could have been both.
Yeah, thin air, isn't it? The higher you go, so fair play. Has anyone from the other side ever told you something so funny that you were laughing for ages?
Mm, no.
Does that happen? Or
Oh,
can it happen?
yes. I was talking to a woman who lost her husband, and he literally was telling me about their sex life, and she was
Whoa.
validating it. Yeah, she was validating it. And I thought, that can't be. That's you, no, no way.
That's a step too far, but you were like, okay, I will.
Yeah. Yeah, I told her, and that's how she knew it was him, is they apparently had this very amazing sex life.
Whoa. I need to tune into that guy. Um, Name a food item that once you start eating, you could just go and go. I.e., once you pop, you just can't stop.
I stopped eating them. There's these stupid pretzel crisps that they have here, and they're flat. And my husband's like, "Stop buying them. I can't stop eating them."
Yeah, I know that is the same for everyone. I think there's this one food stuff that gets all of us, and yours is the pretzely thing. Right, so that's the end of the Koit zone. Thank you for that. I know that was quick. The last two questions. First one: what else do you like to do in your downtime? Any activities? Stroke guilty pleasures.
Well, I love going to the ocean and walking the dogs. We have two fabulous dogs right now. I feel like my family's complete. I have two rescues from the same rescue, and they get along, and it's my joy, to be with them.
Be with them and be out. That's lush. And the
Yeah,
final thing: what are you currently working on?
my book.
And when's that due out?
I wish I could tell you. I wish I could get it done in 4 days because I can't stop writing now.
Oh, is it one of those things that you have to keep going and going and going,
I
otherwise you
feel like
won't do
that
it?
because I've been talking about it for so many years and I keep thinking I can't do it and I can't do it and I got to do it. And now I just have to, it's like and it's kind of like this with any kind of work that you're meant to do. Just wait and don't be so, we're also in a hurry. When you're 17, you want to be 25. When you're 25, you want to be settled down and married. It's like when it's supposed to happen, it's going to happen. And I think we need to relax around our calling. And it's the same with the book. Like I beat myself up for years not doing it. Everybody wanted a book. Everyone was telling me, when's your book coming out? I wrote one. I would never release it. I didn't like it. And now it's really going to be about the story of the animals and how it happened.
Amazing.
So
Well, I look forward to that when that comes out. So when you do finally release it, could you just nudge me somewhere along the line and I
I
will
would love
definitely go
to.
look it up. That'd be
Yeah.
amazing. Susan, thank you ever so much for your time today. I really appreciate everything you said. There's always pieces of the puzzle that people give me, and you've added some more pieces to my puzzle today. So thank you ever so much.
Oh, you're so welcome. I'm so pleased.
Excellent stuff. Thank you.
Thank you.
To watch other KoitCast episodes, please click the image top left. To subscribe to my channel, please click the image top right. Please like and share to help KoitCast grow, and most importantly of all, please click the notification bell so you never miss an upload.